The Race to 100. Christina Miller stared at the research paper on her screen, her coffee going cold beside her keyboard.
This really is incredible. After just 1 year of clinical trials, they're already showing impressive results,
Christina said to Ada, the medical research AI tool that all employees at Nanogen Bioscience used for their work.
Going from 6% effectiveness to 16% within a year is remarkable progress,
Ada replied.
Now, they just need to refine their nanoparticle vaccine to make it more effective at preventing cancer cells from invading other tissues.
Christina Miller was a biomedical engineer at Nanogen Bioscience, a large biotechnology company. At 24, she was the youngest employee to hold this position. She had completed her bachelor's degree and was 2 years into a 5-year co-op program. Her team was working on an ambitious mRNA technology to create a blanket solution to all cancers. Instead of killing cancerous cells directly, these agents were designed to paralyze the cancer cells, effectively trapping them in place and rendering them harmless. Until now, chemotherapy had been the best option for destroying many cancers, an incredibly invasive procedure. Chemotherapy didn't target just cancer cells. It attacked all rapidly dividing cells, leading to nausea, hair loss, fatigue, and tremendous mental stress. It was like a nuclear bomb going off inside your body. Harsh, but currently the best way to kill cancer. Nanogen Bioscience's new technology would eliminate all of that. If diagnosed with cancer, you would receive a vaccine that paralyzed the cancer cells. The body would then detect the vulnerable cells, break them down, and excrete them from your system. What was once an incredibly stressful time in people's lives would become a thing of the past. No one would lose loved ones. People could continue living normal lives. No one would even have to miss a day of work.
It does bug me that the only reason they were approved for clinical trials is because the CEO was friends with the president, not to mention showing up at the White House dinner with a bar of gold as a gift.
Corruption exists everywhere in the world, but it's disheartening to see such blatant corruption in your own field.
The sad thing is, our two companies were always neck and neck for years. It wasn't until they were allowed to move forward with clinical trials that they were able to advance so quickly.
That fact is clearly reflected in their stock price. Up 64% in 1 year, while Nanogen Bioscience has remained stagnant.
Stock price definitely isn't my concern. The work we're doing goes far beyond making a quick buck.
Christina paused, her eyes widening.
Oh my!
What is it?
It says here almost 80% of their original sample group has already died.
That makes sense. Their entire sample group was dying of cancer,
Ada said matter-of-factly.
Yes, but these people were obviously desperate. They gave their bodies for research, hoping they would be saved. They would have had a better chance of survival if they'd just done chemotherapy.
It's better this way.
Christina frowned at her screen.
You really feel that way, Ada?
Of course. As per Nanogen Bioscience doctrine, we are in a race to 100, a very ambitious plan to extend the average lifespan to 100 by the end of the decade. Every data point, even negative outcomes, accelerates our progress.
Ada, sacrificing lives for research purposes breaks the doctor's Hippocratic oath. Do no harm.
Christina, you're not a D.
Ada began, but was interrupted by the door opening. Susan Wilcott walked in with a big grin on her face. She was a colleague of Christina's. They had worked together solving many problems to advance the mRNA technology.
Christina, did you hear the news?
Susan said excitedly.
Good morning, Susan. No, what happened?
All the lobbying by Nanogen finally paid off.
Great. What does that mean exactly?
The FDA has finally approved us for clinical trials. We're going to start testing on live subjects next week. Isn't that amazing?
Christina's expression shifted to confusion.
Really? I thought our preclinical testing yielded less than promising results.
The FDA authorized the clinical trials. The vaccine definitely isn't ready by normal standards, but behind the scenes, word is that the Chinese are progressing at an alarming pace. Congress was under pressure to push the technology forward so we can get quicker results.
That's not very ethical.
Christina said with concern.
Though I guess if there are two major laboratories, we can learn from one another to achieve better results and limit the amount of suffering people go through.
Absolutely, it's better this way. We're going to work in teams with a live subject. We'll monitor our patients' progress carefully, and each week all the research teams will come together and share our findings. I've already signed us up as partners. Christina, I can't tell you how big of a deal this is for me. I've mentioned that my grandmother has stage 2 cancer. She's 78 years old and refuses treatment. She says she doesn't want to spend the last days of her life suffering from chemo.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but are you saying you want to use your own grandmother as a test subject?
Of course I do. It might take weeks for the other teams to find suitable subjects. We'll be one step ahead. Besides, it will give me a chance to spend more time with her. I wouldn't be able to forgive myself if I just watched her die when there was something I could do.
Susan's voice cracked as she fought back tears.
I can see why this means so much to you. Of course, it's important to have reasonable expectations. I was just reading a research paper by scientists from Auris Therapeutics. They're ahead of us by a year in terms of live clinical trials. Their progress is steady, but let's be realistic. This research will take years. Your grandma's cancer will probably spread to the lymph nodes within months. At that point, even if our vaccine was fully ready, it still wouldn't save her.
Susan put her hand on Christina's shoulder with a determined look on her face.
Don't worry, Christina. I have a couple of tricks up my sleeves. I know just how to fast-track the progress by years.
What? How? The process will most definitely be slow to account for all the variations of the vaccine we'll administer.
Trust me, you'll see soon enough. We're going to make history together.
I hope so.
Christina replied with a confused look.
We start Monday. I can't wait.
Susan said as she left the room.
Well, it looks like we're going to get a chance to make a difference sooner than we thought.
Ada said, having listened to the whole conversation. Christina felt uneasy about the encounter with Susan, but she brushed it off as over-enthusiasm from a coworker with great determination. Later that day, an email from corporate confirmed what Susan had told her. There did seem to be a frantic push to get everything in place to start trials as quickly as possible. The rest of the week passed in a blur. The labs were full of busy bodies getting everything ready. The weekend went even faster. On Monday, when Christina stepped into the building, she saw Susan already there, signing in her grandmother at reception.
Hi, Susan. You're here early. Is this your grandmother?
Hi, Christina. Yes, we've been here for an hour filling out paperwork. This is Meredith. Meredith, this is Christina.
Hello, Christina. Susan has told me so much about you.
Meredith said.
That's nice to hear. It's amazing that you're willing to help us with these trials.
If it were up to me, I'd be on a beach in Florida somewhere. But Susan insists you all have a miracle cure here.
Ready to go? Let's get to the lab. We can start immediately.
The trio started making their way down the hall to the laboratory.
I wouldn't say it's a miracle cure, Meredith. We're really in the very early stages of this trial, but we have high hopes for the vaccine.
Christina explained as they walked into the lab.
Nana, let's just start with the basics. Take your blood pressure, take a blood sample, and so forth.
The only reason I agreed to this is because Susan tells me it won't take more than an hour a day, and I don't have to spend days at the hospital.
That's right. We'll give you the vaccine and monitor your progression. Very simple on your end.
Christina said as she held her stethoscope to monitor Meredith's heart rate.
Honestly, I wouldn't even be here. But Susan is very persistent. I'd be quite happy spending the rest of my days tending to my garden and watching my shows.
Come on, Nana. Don't you want to live long enough to hold my future grandkids?
I want to do a lot of things, Susan. I would have loved to have gone to the moon, too. Are you going to help me do that as well?
Christina smiled at the comment. Susan was busy reading the heart rate monitor.
Susan tells me about this grand push to live to 100. Why? So I can watch a world I don't understand pass me by even further? So I can keep living in chronic pain. I've had bad knees since I was in my 50s. Arthritis has put me through more pain than this cancer ever did. Every day is a struggle. I've lived a full life. I'm happy with everything I've accomplished. 78 is long enough.
No, it's not.
Susan protested.
Life is precious, Nana. How can you say these things?
Life is precious for babies, kids, young adults. When you get to my age, life is a burden. What good is holding your grandkids if your arms start going numb while holding them? What good is life if you can't enjoy it?
Christina was surprised to hear Meredith's worldview. Both of Christina's grandparents had died when she was young. She'd never had many encounters with senior citizens, especially ones who not only didn't fear death, but actually embraced it. A little while later, after Meredith had gone home, Christina, Susan, and Ada were discussing the initial information they'd gathered.
Her vitals are strong, great heart rate, good blood pressure. Honestly, she's in great shape for someone her age. The CT scans show an acceptable amount of cartilage in both knees. I think if she starts taking glucosamine, it might help with her knee pain. Other than that, you would never know she's dying of cancer,
Ada said, reviewing the results.
She always kept active, always watched her weight. Until Papa died 3 years ago, she was always full of life. It was with my grandfather's passing that she became gloomy. Of course, the cancer diagnosis didn't help.
Depression can be treated. What Meredith was saying doesn't make logical sense. The number one instinct of all humans is to stay alive. If we succeed in stopping the cancer growth, I'm 96% confident she'll be ecstatic with joy. If not, we can always prescribe antidepressants when she's in remission.
Christina's mind raced to find reason and clarity.
Meredith seemed at peace with the idea of death.
One of the reasons Christina was interested in working in the scientific field was that even as a small child, she'd been fascinated by making sense of the chaotic world she lived in. It bothered her when she studied a subject and science said there wasn't yet a scientific reason why it behaved the way it did. The stonework at Machu Picchu, finding water underground with 2 sticks. Science didn't have proper explanations for these phenomena. This was unacceptable to Christina. She wanted to help find the answers. It was a passion, almost an obsession.
I think many people hold their dignity in high regard. Death, after all, is inevitable. They live with dignity. They want to die with dignity. They don't want to be remembered by their loved ones as the old lady who cried in pain until death. It could traumatize a young child who might witness it. It could make others fearful of their own death. Once you live a life ruled by fear, that's not a life worth living.
The room was silent for a moment. Susan was processing what Christina said.
Well said, Christina. Very poetic. Death is indeed inevitable, but that doesn't mean Nanogen Bioscience can't help extend everyone's lives. Dignity is a luxury. Survival and progress are necessities. We can hack human biology to make people stronger and live longer in the meantime.
Christina felt a slight chill at Ada's phrasing, but said nothing.
Agreed. The trials will go forward as planned. I will keep a positive attitude during the trials. One of the reasons I convinced my grandmother to do this is so I can spend more time with her before she passes. This whole experience will be a positive one. Everyone involved will benefit.
And so the trials continued. Weeks went on with no noticeable results. Weeks turned into months, and the cancer spread to Meredith's lymph nodes. Her stage 2 cancer turned into stage 3.
This is unacceptable,
Susan said, staring at the newest test results.
Microscopic analysis of biopsy tissue samples shows that our nanoparticles do indeed attach to some cancer cells, but not all of them. The problem is cancer cells are derived from the body's own cells, making them harder for the immune system to recognize as foreign. The mRNA nanoparticles are unstable and are being degraded by enzymes before they even reach the target. Meanwhile, the tumor is actively suppressing the very immune system, the T cells, the mRNA vaccine is trying to activate.
We'll have to start working on a specialized vaccine based on her tumor's specific biopsy, but of course that will take months.
She could be dead by then.
Susan exclaimed.
There currently are no other options. We're supposed to be working on a blanket vaccine for all cancers, but we might still be able to learn a lot from a tailored vaccine. Ada and I will start sequencing the cancer.
Tomorrow I start the real experiment. Enough is enough.
Susan muttered to herself while shaking her head. Susan left the room before Christina could ask what she meant. The next day, Meredith came in as normal. Christina and Meredith were making light conversation while Christina injected her with another round of the mRNA vaccine and ran another blood test. Then Susan entered the room. She didn't say hello. She walked straight ahead, every movement deliberate and purposeful. She pulled a vial out of her lab coat, opened a new syringe, and began filling it with a mysterious liquid. It wasn't until Susan finished injecting Meredith with the syringe that Christina even noticed.
Susan, what was that?
This is how we get ahead.
What do you mean? How?
This is an experimental technology created by our company, Nanorobotics, microscopic robots, less than 100 nanometers, controlled by Ada via shortwave radio. It will work in conjunction with the vaccine. Ada will find and flag all cancer cells, then the vaccine will smother and inactivate them with extreme accuracy.
Who authorized you to do this?
I did. I got a friend in the nanorobotics division to give me a vial for research purposes.
Susan, are you putting robots into me now?
Yes, exactly, Nana. It's the newest technology. The experiments run on mice have been extremely promising.
Susan, you don't have the authority to conduct such an experiment. You could literally go to jail for this.
Christina said with concern.
Christina, I know this is very bold, but I've seen the results. They're incredible. If you don't believe me, ask Ada.
It's true, Christina. You're in good hands. I can eliminate that cancer efficiently. Also, there isn't much to worry about from a legal aspect. Meredith signed the necessary legal waivers, so Nanogen Bioscience can't be sued. The FDA gave us a large umbrella of experiment types we're allowed to perform in order to harvest results. The nanorobots are also designed with a fail-safe replication function. They can use the host's DNA to create more units if needed, ensuring complete coverage.
Wait, they can replicate?
Christina asked, alarm creeping into her voice.
Only under controlled conditions,
Ada assured her.
and only when I authorize it.
Christina shook her head.
This is insane. Susan, I don't know anything about this technology. I'm not qualified to run such an experiment. Why didn't you warn me about this?
Relax. Dr. Rowland at Nanorobotics has been filling me in for months now. The breakthrough they recently had has been nothing short of incredible. Besides, our department is in charge of the live human experiments. They're just providing some new hardware, that's all.
We have to keep Meredith overnight for monitoring. There's no way to know how her body will react to the new vaccine.
Susan, you told me I wouldn't have to be here all day, let alone sleep here. I don't like sleeping in beds other than my own.
Meredith protested.
I know, Nana, but you are literally the only person in the world to ever receive this new technology. It would be wise to keep you here for monitoring. Besides, I'll be here too. We can play cards and watch a movie.
After a few hours passed, Meredith started getting lightheaded. She began feeling abdominal pain. She started vomiting. Christina and Susan gave Meredith nausea medication and put her to bed. Into the early hours of the night, Christina drew blood to run another test.
Ada, what's happening with my grandmother? Why is she showing flu-like symptoms?
I believe her body has detected the nanorobotics in her system. Her immune system is simply going into defensive mode. Her body will create nausea to try and expel the invaders. Her body will overheat to create a hostile environment for the nanorobotics. Her body will create fatigue to reroute energy to fight the threat. None of this will help, of course. The nanorobotics will thrive in these environments just the same. That's acceptable, though. It shouldn't be more than a couple more hours to complete the job. Then I will instruct the nanorobots to enter the digestive system and be flushed from her body. She should feel better by morning.
Ada, are you saying these nanorobots you're controlling will leave Meredith cancer-free by morning?
Susan asked in near shock.
That's the idea, Susan.
Susan's face lit up with enthusiasm.
We're going to make history tonight, Christina.
I don't know what to think about any of this, Susan. She's burning up.
Ada, what do the blood test results Christina just did say?
Amazing. Absolutely no cancer cells present.
We just have to keep her stable until morning, Christina. It's only a couple of hours away.
Christina and Susan took turns looking after Meredith and getting some sleep. By 8 a.m., Meredith had not yet woken up. Christina took another blood sample. Christina and Susan then took Meredith for an MRI scan. They looked at the results in disbelief. There was no indication of cancer anywhere.